Am I live? That was so much easier. Hi, everybody. I'm going to actually put my glasses on because I can't read your chats without it. Welcome to Steve the Missionary Live. It might get a better title sometime later, maybe bathrobe talk or something like that, depending on how much the bathrobe becomes a thing. Anyway, we're going to talk a little bit about anything that goes on in the world, anything you guys want to chat about. The videos I make on Steve the Missionary, the channel, get filmed like in chunks on Friday afternoons, and then they get posted twice a week later. So I basically make these over topics that aren't exactly timely or anything. So this Monday live Steve the Missionary chat is going to be a much more timely, a much more, on topic, a much more what's happening in the world right now. So that's why we're doing these Monday Steve the Missionary live. Yeah, Rebecca, that is a compass on my ceiling. That way is north, that way is south, and behind me is east. So now you know I'm facing west. Hi, Sean. Thanks for coming. So first thing, happy Martin Luther King Day. I hope that everyone is inspired, learns a little bit more about Martin Luther King today, learns a little bit more about ways to work for justice, equality, etc. today, and is good to their neighbor today. If there are people who are not on this because they're at a Martin Luther King barbecue party event, I get it. I'm a little sad, but I get it. So with that out of the way, I want to talk about the big news of this week. It was the March for Life this past weekend. Big event. And I'm happy. I am a hardcore critiquer of the whole thing, but ultimately, I am happy that the March for Life happens. I am happy that so many people show up. I'm happy that every year more local marches happen. I am happy that every year it seems like more people are involved in New York. Amazing thing. I'm learning, though, because every year after the march happens, whether I go to a march either in DC or in San Francisco, or if I just watch it on the internet and on TV, I learned that really the number one positive thing that comes out of the March for Life is not a changing of hearts and minds, is not political pressure on people that could actually help us on the political scale, but it's actually like solidarity, interconnectivity, and just joy within the movement and within this group of like-minded people. I think that one of my problems when I look at the March for Life is that I expect too much out of it. I expect the March for Life to happen on a Friday, and by Saturday for Roe v. Wade to be overturned, and for there to be 3 times as many pro-life adoption centers and pro-life clinics in the country. It's not going to happen that way, and I need to stop doing it and thinking about it that way. That being said, every year at the March for Life, there's something that really rubs me the wrong way. It's something that that shouldn't belong at the March for Life. For the last 2 years, it's been the president speaking. I think that we have been doing something really dangerous by attaching ourselves to Donald Trump and the way he talks and his rhetoric. I think that we're doing something really dumb when we wear a Make America Great Again hat to the March for Life. We are attaching the idea of being pro-life, the idea of being pro-science, pro-woman, pro-life, with a very specific set of desires, a very specific set of policies that are estranging us from people who could help us, and that are sometimes not protecting of all human life and are hurting the dignity of others. So I think that in of itself needs to be something that we need to think about. We need to be very careful about who we let speak on our stage. We need to be very careful about the difference between endorsing a politician and having a politician endorse what we're standing for. Martin Luther King was very adamant about that. And the NAACP was very adamant about that during the civil rights movement. It was, we do not endorse politicians. We invite politicians to endorse our message. And that is the stance that pro-lifers should take, but it's not the stance that pro-lifers take, especially around the time that the march happens. I think that especially on Martin Luther King Day, it's a great day to go and research the methodology of Martin Luther King and the civil rights movement. We love to claim that we are the how would you say it, uh, the descendants, I guess, the ideological descendants of the civil rights movement, and we love to show people like Alavita King is like, see, look at this. This is someone from the King family is on our side in this fight. We are the next iteration of the civil rights movement. If that is true, and if we want to hold on to that claim, then we need to start acting like it. We need to start acting like that in the way we march. We need to start acting like it in how we act when we're not marching, and in the discipline we have during all of our marches. I'm reading the comments. Hello to Margaret. Hello to this Joe Angelo person. And Rebecca, I think it's awesome being pro-life in Canada because that's a much harder fight. So good for you. The two kind of things, or the biggest news coming out of the March for Life, especially in terms of someone that wasn't exactly following the methodology of Martin Luther King, would be this hashtag MAGA teen. This kid from Coventry Catholic High School in Kentucky, who, we all know the story. Like, a video showed up, it was like 30 seconds long, of just him staring down a Native American protester with a drum. And then there was the protesters' comments, and then there was the longer video, and then there was the comments by the teenager, and then there was all this stuff. And at the end of the day, I said a couple things about him that I don't exactly take back. At the end of the day, it really looks like he wasn't necessarily in the right, but even beyond that, he had chaperones standing right there that could have helped him. The way I see it is, they were a bunch of teenagers that got kind of a little bit barged in on, or they had these protesters walk up to them. Cool. And then you look at the video and you see them dancing around, making the Kansas City Chiefs tomahawk motion, and like generally having fun in a way that they can't figure out is probably insulting to Native Americans. And then on top of that, the drummer gets into this guy's face. And the easiest way to fix this is to just leave or walk away or walk 2 feet that way. And if I was a chaperone, that's exactly what I would do. All this kid needed to not be in the news was for an adult to tap him on the shoulder and say, "Come stand by me. You're a little bit out of your depth." And that's all it would have taken, because when you look at his face, he was going through a lot of different things. And some of it was as benign as ignorance and confusion. And then some of it was as dangerous as actual racism, and or somewhere in the middle, or some of it was actually good, where he was actually trying to calm down his own classmates from being insulting or engaging in one of the more angry people in the crowd. And then there was an awful lot of, like, I guess, not knowing about your own privilege. This was really very obviously the first time he had come face to face with someone whose experience was so radically different than his own, and he did not know how to react, and none of the adults helped him. And now look what happened. So I'm not going to take back what I said before. I think he was being young and immature without help. But on the other hand, I will say, like, there are people out there doxing a teenager, trying to get him expelled, threatening his family. That's insane. And these are people with, like, actual following. These are people who are, like, actual comedians. That's insane. You cannot do that. That's utterly beyond what should be happening right now. And that's wrong. And I think that you need to call that out. The kid was in the wrong, and you should have and should be corrected. But the violence that people are literally calling for is completely out of proportion and uncalled for. So I'm just gonna say that. And the thing that I did say, and I'm gonna talk about from my, like, Steve the Missionary Twitter page, was that what this kid was missing was the discipline of the radical. I said that the two things that you saw stacked on top of each other was bigotry and the lack of discipline of the radical. When you are a when you are protesting, there are things that you have to do for your own sake and for the sake of your movement. Maybe they're not necessarily fair. Maybe they and the rules that you place on yourself are more constricting than what the mere law is. But you do it for the sake of the movement. You do it for the sake of the image that will get put onto the media, especially when the media is not on your side. And you do it for the sake of your own safety. It's not playtime when you're at a march. It is serious business, and there are people who seriously disagree with you or seriously want to get you to look in a bad light for whatever reason. The Native American protesters were therefore a Native American protest for a completely different set of reasons, and you have to go talk to Native American activists if you want to find out what they're there for. And so they had nothing to do with the March for Life or the Women's March or countering the March for Life or countering the Women's March. It was a completely other thing, and they were unable to engage it in any remotely disciplined way. And I think that's a major problem. We don't teach fellow pro-lifers the discipline of the radical, the discipline of a marcher when we go to March for Life, Walk for Life West Coast, One Life LA. There is a lot of that when you go pray in front of a clinic. There is a lot of who you can tell who's been here multiple times before. You follow their lead. They stop you if you are trying to engage too much or escalate a situation. They remind you of how quiet we should be, who should be the ones talking, there is a very distinct line between who are the trained sidewalk activists and helpers and who are the praying people or someone just holding a sign. There's a major distinction when you do that. And that is something that is taught from one side of the March for Life to newcomers, and then you get things like what we saw with this teenager. First of all, this teenager was wearing a "Make America Great Again" hat. Why? All of his friends were too. Why is that a thing that we are? Why is that a thing that we're wearing at a pro-life rally? Especially when the last two budgets funded Planned Parenthood, and when our current government shutdown is for a wall and not, say, to defund Planned Parenthood. Things like that are very strange to me and completely lacking in the kind of discipline we need for the pro-life movement. I'm gonna slow down a little bit. Chris is saying you are assuming that the man that walked up and started drumming in his face would not follow him when he walked away. I am assuming that, but also you should do things one step at a time. If you're going to just completely skip the option of walking away, that's on you. And if he was going to follow, then the adults definitely would have gotten involved because of how chaperones are. But you don't come up with an excuse to make yourself look bad. And that's half of what this discipline that I'm talking about is. If you want to hear about it, it's kind of funny. You have to talk to your hardcore progressive activist friends, but they will tell you about it. They will tell you about what they do and what they don't do. It happened in the civil rights, throughout the civil rights, and they were trained. If they were going to go do like a sit-in at a cafe, they were trained at exactly what they were going to meet, exactly how they were going to respond. And that is what's going on. Or what's not going on. I'm losing track of what I'm talking about. So yeah, we need in our marches much more of the discipline of the radical. I'm glad these marches happen. They are a great celebration of life. They are a great celebration of being pro-life. They're a great celebration of the diversity of the pro-life movement. You had Knights of Columbus and you had Rehumanize International in the same place talking about the same thing. That's a beautiful thing. The fact that these marches happen all across the United States and Canada are a similar celebration, that nationwide there's a celebration of life and the need to create a society that is pro-life, not just laws, not just individuals, a whole society. I'm excited for the Walk for Life West Coast is going to happen in San Francisco this coming weekend. And I'm also really glad that I don't have to do any of the stuff there. I used to man a table at Walk for Life West Coast, and I don't have to anymore because I quit my job. Thank God. Reading Rebecca again. We tell people at the March rally in my city not to engage. Just be silent if we get rowdy, disruptive opposition, because we will get spun as the aggressor if there's any blown ups. Joe responded, if this movement is going to do anything permanent, it has to inspire convictions beyond partisan politics, which is extremely difficult in the context of a march. Inspire convictions beyond partisan politics, but also a march is the exact time for it to happen. So, which is another reason why I'm always wary when politicians, Republican or Democrat, speak at our rallies. This is not a time for politicians. It's a time for the speakers that came up from the movement itself. But that's just my opinion, and I don't run the thing. So here we are. We're still working on how long these things should be. But if you guys want to know, my most recent video asked you if you wanted books in the background or if you wanted maps in the background. It was almost unanimous that you all wanted books in the background, so I did fix the bookshelf. It looks beautiful. You'll see it in my next video. And maps is going to stay either completely in the background of these live videos, or I'm just gonna turn the camera around next week and you'll never have to see my maps again, because some of you guys really did not like them. Like, some of you really did not like the maps, which was kind of funny. Never show me the maps. Okay. All right. Fine. The problem is, if I don't do the maps, if I do just the books, you'll never see the compass again. And frankly, I like the compass. That's just me. Yeah, Chris. So all of those Post-it notes are places that I have been or someone in my family has been. So if you see these further down South America ones, my mom has been to like Argentina and Chile, and she's also been to mainland China. But Malaysia, most of Europe. I'm losing track. That's Europe. Europe, and then Malaysia over here. These are places that I've been. So I'm a fan of maps. I actually literally grew up looking at maps. When we were clearing out this room to make it my studio, I found like something from like second grade where you write down, my favorite thing is this, my pastime is this, and my pastime was literally looking at maps, and that made me feel good. That was a lot of fun. Yeah, you're right, Alex. There is this sort of dark halo element going on with the compass that I really like. So what are you going to do? I did paint the compass. This was a project between me and my mother. We got out a compass, figured out which way north was. Joe wants me to paint icons in the spaces there. I am not an iconographer. I don't know how to do that. So if any of you are iconographers, know how to make icons the proper way, for the love of God, please fly over to California and paint in the top of my roof, because I would love that. Practice makes pies. And one last thing before I close up, and I will always answer your questions before I close up. So if you have any questions, go ahead and ask. Before the March for Life happened, there was a whole controversy at Franciscan University of Steubenville over Dr. Stephen Lewis and a book he assigned to his classmates, and then Church Militant got into it, because of course they did, and got Dr. Lewis to lose his job as the head of the English department. He's still a professor at Franciscan, and frankly, that's awful. I am completely against what Church Militant did. I'm completely against what Franciscan University did. I think that especially when you read the statement by Dr. Lewis and why he assigned this book, you can tell that this was an important way to have a conversation between the Catholic French writer and the ex-Catholic French writer. And it's important to know what the ex-Catholic French writer was, because there was literal academic ideas about how someone who engaged in religious studies must be a former member of that religion for various academic reasons. So how are you going to engage that? Well, first you have to read someone who calls himself a member of a religious study because he is a former member of that religion. Stuff like this book. And to fire someone over that is anti-education, is anti-thought, and is anti basically everything. So I think that I agree with Archbishop Chaput when I say that I believe that Church Militant is a dangerous organization that only spreads discord in the Catholic Church. And I think we should all listen to them a lot less. And I think that our universities should listen to them a lot less. And frankly, it's bizarre and weird and not as it should be when these random websites can get professors fired. It happened to Professor Rebecca Bratton-Weiss, and how she's not teaching there anymore because she had the audacity to assign the book Lolita. Like, we all know Lolita has like gross things in it, but we also know that you need to engage it if you're going to come out on top. So that's what I think. Jesse wants to know what my next video will be. My next video will be a song, a pro-life song that one can sing at protests. To give you a hint, it's I see a lot of counter protests at any of these, and in all honesty, like, I am pro-life through and through, but I have a lot of sympathy for pro-choice women. A lot of pro-choice women look at the world and they see it as stacked against them, and they see abortion as the only way to sidestep the way that the patriarchy has hijacked their biology against them. And when I come along and say we shouldn't do abortions, they get very angry at that. The logic kind of makes sense, and I have a lot of sympathy about a song about how I don't have any respect for the selfishness of pro-choice men. And you can sing that at a rally, or whenever you get in a conversation with pro-choice men if you want to. I'll have the lyrics in the comments, and I'll have all the chords in the comments as well. Thank you for your question, Jesse. Rebecca Elizabeth, you and I needed to chat about pro-life stuff, because I only know so much, but I also have a lot of opinions. I'm at that point where I need to get more educated if I want to affect anything with how much I think about this. Sean, I've never been to Ireland. My next goal is actually Wales and Scotland, because that's where my dad's family comes from. Rebecca wants to know, will you ever follow up your Christ the King video? I didn't know it needed following up, but I'll definitely make another one this coming Christ the King. There will be a lot of videos in Steve the Missionary that are about the fact that your religion has the capacity to put you at odds with your government, or there are things in the society that wants to claim your loyalty before God. And we as Catholics cannot do that. And there's no way around it. So that's going to be a running theme in my channel, even if there's no specific follow-up to the Christ the King video. But thanks for letting me know you want it. I might make that just a constant thing. Like I always have a pro-life video at the end of January. Maybe I'll always have a Christ the King video. Ashley wants me to paint and install. Irene, thank you for being the only one who's a fan of the Disney Che logo. That was misleading more people than I had hoped. People were coming at me saying, why do you like Che? I'm like, no, I like making fun of Che, but it never worked out. So Steve the Missionary with the spiky tires behind, it is. Thank you so much, everybody, for coming to the first Steve the Missionary live. And thank you so much for coming on this ride with me. This will be every Monday at 3 p.m. Pacific. What's that for? 5 p.m. Central. and everyone else has to just do the math. I will start a Patreon in a couple weeks, and one of these days I will come up. Actually, if you guys could help me in the comment section, I need a sign off for my videos. So there's that. I need a sign off for my videos, like see ya, stay holy, my friends, deuces, something, because all the time I'm always like, see you next time, and that's that's not good. So please help me out. So until then, God bless and see you next time.